Now, once you've created a servitor, you obviously need to feed it, and you obviously need to feed it in order to keep it alive. So there are some standard methods that people generally talk about and generally use, but there are a lot of other methods that you can actually look at. And I just want to have a look at two methods that have come to mind, and one of them has actually been raised by somebody in the comments, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So let's get into that. Okay, so on this channel and obviously on other channels, we've spoken about servitors, how to actually feed them and keep them alive. Because if you stop feeding them, then they basically just dissolve back into the energy that they came from. Now, the creation of a servitor comes from energy. So it's either your personal energy or that of usually the elements. I'm sure we could probably come up with other ways to actually create servitors, but generally it's a concentration of energy into a body. And that body we then program with intent and certain instructions on lifespan, tasks, how they actually get fed and things like that. So the general ways to actually feed the servitor are with the energy that it was created from, or you can use your own personal energy. You can build up chi, use the chi. You can raise the energy of an element and generate that energy and feed it with that energy. There's actually a lot of different ways you can actually feed it. I mean, you can use blood, and generally with a blood sacrifice from yourself, it's always from yourself, nothing from nobody else or an animal or anything like that. Always from yourself. And it only needs to be a drop, but the whole intent behind that is that it's painful. I mean, you might prick your finger and it's not that bad, but I mean, it's still pain. And some people have a fear of needles. So just that act itself is a sacrifice, because you are considering what you are giving the blood sacrifice to be worthy of your own pain and suffering. But I mean, there are a lot of other methods. The first one I want to speak about was put in a comment by Elizabeth, and it's actually brilliant. If you've heard of Masaru Emoto, he was a Japanese businessman and a pseudoscientist. But in 2004, he actually brought out a book, but obviously he was experimenting with this beforehand. So the idea is that you program water with a particular intent. And what he was doing, he was programming different vessels of water, containers of water, with different emotions. And he would then freeze the water, and he would photograph the actual water crystals, the molecules. And he found that water that was given the emotion of happiness, love, joy, and things like that, had a very beautiful outcome. The formation of the crystals, the formation of the molecules, was created this beautiful pattern. Whereas if they were given the emotion of hate, anger, frustration, all the negative emotions, then they would actually explode, and they would form still beautiful patterns, but not as connected as the other ones. The patterns were kind of a bit more in disarray and disorder, whereas the love, happiness, joy, emotion, they became more ordered. So, I mean, this is actually quite a good manifestation technique in itself, is that you take water and you concentrate emotion, intent, you visualize your intent into the water, and then you obviously take it into yourself, you drink it, and that brings the programmed molecules of the water into your body, which then obviously helps your own body and the intent of the actual working you're doing, the manifestation work you're doing. And Elizabeth said that because she was programming water with solar energy and with words, she got the idea of actually using it to feed her servitors. So it really is a good idea. I mean, myself, I've always put water on my altar, just for the spirits in general. I don't necessarily program with the water with any intent. It's just an offering to the spirits that are around. So there is that one, which is very good. You can try that one. And the other one I want to talk about, when we talk about servitors, I don't think I've ever heard anyone mention actually just giving them offerings. And this, in the sense, I mean, offerings that we would give a god, a nature spirit, a house ghost, some kind of spirit that we want to actually appease. And even if it's in worship or something like that, but we give these spirits offerings of food, drink, even coins, jewelry, shiny things. They like shiny things. But I don't think I've ever seen anybody mention giving offerings to servitors as in a way to actually feed them. Now, it could be because when we create servitors, we create them from personal energy or elemental energy, and then we continue to feed them in that same manner, and therefore it's been overlooked, or I don't know why. There are probably some people out there who do it, but as I say, I haven't seen anybody actually talk about it or mention it. So we can give our servitors offerings of food and drink. And there's a reason for this. A lot of people question how to actually give an offering to a deity or a nature spirit. And there's various ways in which people go about it. I mean, some people will just take an extra helping of food at dinner time and put it on a separate plate and give it as an offering to the spirit. And then the next morning they'll probably take it outside and leave it for the birds and the ants and the animals in nature to actually just consume. There was, however, a post that I read earlier this year, I think it was on a Black Magick forum, about actually giving offerings and how long you should leave the offering on the altar for, and how to dispose of it and things like that. And the answer I found was extremely interesting. So the reason we give offerings of food and drink and etc., to deities, to nature spirits, is that they consume the energy from that offering. So the act of giving the offering itself, firstly, is an act of giving energy. However, the food and the drink itself has an energy in it. Now with the food specifically, as the food breaks down and starts to degenerate, then the atoms, the molecules, they start to actually release energy as it decomposes. So as the food is decomposing, the molecules themselves are actually releasing energy, which is actually a very interesting concept. And then obviously when it gets to a point where it's finished decomposing, or whatever point you actually want to get rid of it, because it could get a bit smelly obviously, then take it outside and bury it in the ground. And the same thing happens with drink. If it's an alcoholic drink, or whether you put milk and honey out, or even just water, it will actually evaporate. And through that evaporation process, it's actually the molecules are releasing energy. And it's that energy which actually feeds the deities, the nature spirits, the house ghosts, the brownies that keep your house nice and tidy. if you don't keep it tidy yourself. Should do though, because otherwise the house ghost is going to get very upset with you. He's going to start hiding your remote control and everything. Yes, this happened to me before. So, as I say, there is this method of actually giving offerings, and there's a particular way you can go about it in order to actually get the best out of it, release the proper energy, so that the servitor can actually consume that energy. And I've got to say, I haven't actually tried it. When I was thinking about what to actually put in this video, it suddenly occurred to me that, why are people not just giving their servitors normal offerings that we do to other spirits? And so, this just became obvious. So I'm actually going to start giving my own servitors normal offerings and see how that goes. But I thought I'd just bring it up and discuss it, because it is one of those things which is obvious that just got overlooked, I suppose. Don't know. So when it comes to feeding your servitors, think about ways you can actually do it. The whole thing is to actually release energy, to give energy. It's that energy which actually feeds the servitor. So if you can think of a method that does this and will actually feed the servitor, then try it, use it. And if you think of anything else, then leave them in the comments below. I'm sure a lot of people would actually appreciate it. And so that's it for today. And I'll see you on Friday. Just a quick announcement. I'll probably do a more official announcement. I have started the first sigil course, the live online course. So that's going to go through a 4-week process, and then it will start again on the 17th of October. So if you want to book for the Sigil Magic course, then go onto my site, you can book it. By the end of this week, I should have the Servitor course up and ready for bookings. That'll start on the 18th. So I'm going to do the Sigil Magic course on Saturday, and then the Servitor Magic or Servitor course on the Sunday. Yes, found it very difficult to get that out as well. I think my words are a bit jumbled this morning. And okay, so I'll see you on Friday. Have a good week, and lots of happiness and manifestation. Cheers.